Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time and spending it here with us on NAC TV. I'm Eoin Devereux with the Banner Press, welcoming you to this June 13th edition of the program. We are already halfway through June. The year's just been flying by, but very excited to be here and to be able to share some information with you. And I'm joined this week by editor, publisher, owner-operator, Ken Waddell. Ken, good to have you here on this week's edition of the program.
It's always good to be here, Owen.
Well, and again, it's a good week for you to be here, Ken, because there is so much for us to talk about. There's so many things on the go. I can guarantee you right now, we are not going to have enough time in our 30-minute program to be able to talk about everything of significance that has happened in and around Neepawa. That's why it's always important, if you're able to pick up a physical copy of the Banner and Press in one of 30 different locations throughout Western Manitoba, or to find it online at neepawabanner.com. Let's start off with one thing that everybody's going to be talking about over the next few days in Neepawa and in other communities as well. It is the celebration of graduation for so many high school students. Our special section, every year we do it for Neepawa, Minnedosa, Carberry, Gladstone. So many outlying communities, even beyond that, is our special graduation section in which we spotlight and showcase each and every one of those who are moving on to their next stage of education or their next stage of life, whatever the case may be. This is a big part of the Banner and Press each and every year, isn't it, Ken?
Oh, for sure. 20 pages this year, and some advertising, of course, but with the just dozens and dozens of pictures of eager young people ready to go from high school on to college or jobs or university training of some kind or other. And I challenge you to read through it, count the number of graduates. In Neepawa, things have changed in Neepawa, and you will find that there's a large percentage of young people in the Neepawa graduating class again this year who are from Filipino background, which means that they've probably come, or their parents have come to Neepawa since 2009, 2010, and then years after that. Huge change in Neepawa. But we're glad to have them all. I'm glad to have all our graduates. And congratulations to all our graduates. It's 12 long years of hard work to get that diploma, and we wish you all the best for sure.
That's right. It's a perfect example of Neepawa being a growing, expanding, and thriving community in terms of all these new arrivals who are establishing themselves, getting into the system, and coming out of it for all the better. It's also a good example of why you need to have plans in place for your community's future. And this is a story I'm very, very glad to be able to share with you, even if it is just the first step of a long journey that Neepawa and surrounding area needs to take. And it is on our front page of the A section of this week's edition of the paper. A recreation committee, a volunteer board recreation committee, has finally come out in public and has had a meeting pondering the future of a new event/rec center in Neepawa for Neepawa and the surrounding RMs. This is something, Ken, that has been talked about for so long, and it seems to always be sort of put aside for one reason or another. You've been through this process many a time. What is your understanding and what is your perspective on what's happening right now?
Well, what's happening right now is an increasing realization of something that's been on the horizon for quite a while. And that is, what do we do eventually to replace the Neepawa Yellowhead Center? And of course, then how many other recreational facilities, existing and new, can be or should be incorporated into such a complex. A little bit of history. The Yellowhead Center is made up of the Yellowhead Hall, which was built in 1943 as part of Canadian Salt Company. It was the warehouse, built like Fort Knox. You can literally park a dozen cars on the floor of that hall. I've seen it happen when they used to do car shows in there. The waiting room area and the upstairs dressing rooms are part of the old salt mill, which was also built in 1943, but renovated extensively lowered in height down from about 5 floors to 3 floors, 3 floors, in 1971 and 72. And then the arena part was built new in 1972. But the interesting thing, that arena is now older than the arena it replaced. The one that was in downtown where Neepawa, where the Yellowhead Manor and MTS building is, that's where the old arena was. And ask me how I know, because I played hockey in that arena in 1971. Anyway, not very good hockey. Don't get excited. Okay, not very good hockey. But anyway, that's the background. And so for over 50 years, the arena has been functioning and being used for all kinds of events, as is the hall. But the time has come when we have to at least consider replacing it. That's the easy decision. The hard decision is figuring out what to include in the new facility. An equally hard decision is, whatever the new facility is, and it will come eventually, where does it go? And so there was 4 sites, right, Owen?
That is correct, yes.
Presented? Yeah. What did you think of the 4 sites? What were your thoughts?
It's very interesting from my perspective. If you're a loyal and consistent viewer of the show, you know I'm not from Neepawa initially, but I've been here for about a decade now, so 1 or 2 are starting to think of me as a local. It'll take another 10 or 15 years before most of them do, but I'm still kind of entrenched in here right now. And it's intriguing to see some of the reaction to these 4 locations from people who have been from Neepawa and the surrounding area their entire lives. I had a chance to speak with a few of them after, and they shared some interesting perspectives on it. And I'm going to share those perspectives to a degree with you right now. If you pick up a copy of this week's paper, you're going to see right on the front page the 4 different locations here. You can't see it really from this distance. That's why it's important to pick up a copy of the paper. But I'll give you the basics. Site 1 is essentially just slightly southwest of the Tim Hortons. Site 2 is pretty much right west of where the current Neepawa Curling Club is located. That open space there. Site 3 is going to be somewhere on the what is known as the Project 320, in terms of 320 acres located just northwest of Neepawa, which is going to be turned into some industrial and some suburban areas for Neepawa in the future. And the 4th location is essentially a little bit south of where our current golf course is. In that area, there's a lot of work going on over there. The new hospital is being put up close by. The plans for the new school, when we do get that new school moving forward, is going to be in that area as well. Some suburbs is going to be located over there. So 4 very distinct, very interesting locations for this. I'm going to backtrack for you slightly here. The first part of this meeting was, the question was asked, do we need a rec/event center? Because if we as a collective don't think we need one, then what are we even doing? Why do we even need to proceed with this meeting? So that question was asked, and overwhelmingly, it was yes. For the 90 or 100 people that were in attendance here, they were given a red sticker and a yellow sticker, and there was a little bit of poster board up there on the wall there, and if you thought yes, you put your sticker on the yes one, and if you thought no, you put it on the no one. And Ken, what is your perspective on this? Because there was not one single solitary sticker put on the no side. There was one sticker there, and we got a picture in the paper, but it was just to indicate which sticker you used. Other than that, not a single person voted that no, this is not something that Neepawa needs. So what's your take on that?
Well, I was amazed that there wasn't at least, 3 or 4 people would say, no, we're good, leave us alone. Because this is a very expensive thing. Like they're tossing out figures of, $20 to $35 million. And it could go higher. Certainly Steinbach's went $75 million, but don't think anybody's dreaming of that level.
Sorry to cut you off there, but to add some perspective on that as well, When I was in Port Prairie at the time and Stride Place was coming through, Stride Place at the time was about, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but about 45 to 48 million for their entire complex. So I don't know if we need something that elaborate, but we still need something a little bit, with all due respect to Mendoza, we need something a little better than Mendoza.
Yeah. Well, that's assuming that the community keeps growing, and then there's all kinds of questions. So it was even questioned, do we need hockey in the future? Well, of course, that brings a bit of a gasp of desperation among some people. Of course, we need hockey. Well, we think we will. But we need basketball, we may need pickleball, we may need badminton, we may need volleyball, we may need gymnastics, we may need another community hall. Problem is with Neepawa is that we have some pretty darn good facilities now, but how much shuffling around do you do to put them all together? Like, I'm always envious, and it's a much smaller community, but I'm always envious when I drive through Oak River. There is an elementary school, there is a curling rink, there is a hall, there is a skating rink, all and a fairgrounds, ball diamonds, all in the same field.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
There's a lot of communities should have done what they did, and to a certain extent, it could be argued that Neepawa should have done this years ago. We can't build, but there's enough space to build at our fairgrounds, ball diamonds. Just not enough room to build anything more down there of any size. So we encourage you to look at the front page of the paper. There is also another proposal that came up at the meeting, and is certainly being discussed and have been discussed. There's some roadblocks, is that maybe it should go immediately south of the current clubhouse of the golf course. But there's a problem there. The land is in private hands. And somebody says, well, just expropriate it. Well, that's a long, complicated, messy process. And it could be. But that would be a good spot. There's no question about it. That would be a good spot. If we had to make a decision today, I'd pick number 2, because it's beside the curling rink, it's beside the hotel, and it's beside about 4 or 5 restaurants. It has a lot of merit, and it's in the center of the town. I would hate to see us put something on the edge of town and erode the core value of the town.
That's right, and that was part of it as well. They also gave out these stickers to everyone in attendance to give your first option, what you think is the best option for Neepawa, and the second one for what you thought your second option was. Ken just shared with us that he thought that it was the curling club location that he thought was the best one. Let me ask you though this: what was your second option, Ken?
I didn't make one.
You didn't? Oh, all right. You were committed.
I'm committed. I don't think either of the other 3 sites are the right way to go.
Okay. Interesting.
My opinion.
No, and again, that's what this was. This was opinion. Just because a certain one of these 4 had more options or more stickers to it, doesn't mean we're building there. It's just they wanted to gauge the interest of the community and find out what we as a collective maybe thought on that. And I'll share with you what I voted on, because I took this consideration very seriously. I asked questions about the differences in acreages there, because I knew that the footprint was going to be tight on certain locations, and I wanted to know what type of expansion could be possible in each and every one of them. I voted for, my personal one, I voted for 1. I feel like location-wise, and that was the one close to the Tim Hortons, I feel location-wise that's a good one. The land is being donated as well, which is nice. There was a little back and forth about how settled the land is, whether it's the best sort of foundations for a facility of this manner, and I took that into consideration. But I felt like in terms of the 4 options, I liked that one just a little bit more. But very closely behind was the curling club as well. I feel like if you want to do, as Ken explained, a full rec facility, the curling club has to be directly involved. And you can't guarantee it's going to be involved in option 3 or option 4 or option 1. The curling club is already there. You can retrofit it, connect it up into the new facility. The only downside for that is the location is a little bit smaller than the other locations, so that sort of handcuffs what you're able to do. So it'll be very interesting to see. We're going to be doing a further story on this in next week's edition, elaborating a little bit on the meeting, a little bit on the information. And again, to share a little bit of the story behind the stories on that. The reason we don't have that elaboration in there nearly as much is because we did have some journalists on the payroll that were out sick for the entirety of the week. So we were a person down. And as well, the meeting occurred on the Tuesday, and we had to have this done on the Wednesday. And I ran into a few technical issues on my computer that turned an hour of work into an hour of staring at the ceiling, wondering why the tech gods were not my friend. But it all got looked after, it all got taken care of, and we were able to get it sent off and printed off in a timely manner so that you out there didn't even notice the difference. You didn't even notice the stress and the strain and the hurry up and wait. But happens behind the scenes on not just our paper, but in a lot of media and a lot of publishing over the years. So
caused me a lot of stress. I had to write the story on.
Yeah.
And then I had to go spend $1,900 to buy you a new computer. I'm stressed. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. But no, we're going to have that story in more so, even more elaborate in next week's edition as well. And you can make a decision for yourself, because I'm going to track down some information. It was brought up during the meeting that there wasn't as many people there as maybe it had been hoped. There were about 100 people there. Very good that those people showed up and have a consideration and care for our community to show up in that manner. But one suggestion was made that we take the presentation and put it online. So one of our people, Amanda Nottingale, I believe, said, I'll do it, I'll look after it. So we're going to hopefully have that information next week where you can look at this online and maybe make some decisions yourself and help pave the way for the future of Neepawa.
The other way is that the whole meeting was videoed by NACTV and will be here on NACTV as well shortly.
That's right. Check your local listings for the times when that will be on right here on NACTV. It's very important. This is a big project. And I think everyone in and around Neepawa, and I very specifically phrase it that way, this is not just a Neepawa only thing. This is something every RM that surrounds us needs to be a part of, because they are a part of it. This needs to be a regional hub, a regional center. But is there anything you want to add specifically?
Well, just on that specific point before we move on, the committee was made up of Mayor Brian Headley, Jeff Cook from the Neepawa Curling Club, Kevin Paramore, Reeve of the RM of Glenella, Lansdowne, Candace Newton representing the Yellowhead, Kevin Lewandowski representing the Neepawa Golf and Country Club, Jerron Davidson, councillor of the RM of North Cypress Langford, and Jeff Henderson, councillor of the RM of Rosedale. So it was excellent representation across the whole region.
That's right. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can find out some of the initial details in this week's edition of the paper. And remember, next week's edition of the paper, we're going to have further details on this, and hopefully we'll be able to share so much more on this, on an exciting project that we genuinely hope is going to be moving ahead sooner rather than later. I hate when the organizations and communities come together and say we need to do something, and they have that meeting and they're all gung-ho about it. Yes, we're going to do this, we're going to move forward, and then they do nothing. They sit around for weeks and months after the fact and nothing happens. Let's get some momentum happening, let's get some action happening, and let's turn this into a reality instead of a conversation. All right, let's shift over. Actually, we're going to go over to a couple things I want to talk about on page 2 of this week's paper in terms of the town of Neepawa and their most recent council meeting. There were a couple things on the go that they did talk about, but these are the two that jumped out at me at the most recent council meeting. First off was at the end of this month, the town of Neepawa will officially take over control and maintenance of the Stony Creek School. If you're unfamiliar, if you're not from Neepawa, if you watch this show from somewhere else, I'll explain it, the background. The Stony Creek School essentially is an old Little House on the Prairie style school that was established right here at, it was Rotary Park, or no, it's Lions Park.
Lions Park, moved to Lions Park, yeah.
It is a wonderful piece of heritage. Ken, you can sort of chime in. You've got the knowledge of its history and its significance a little more than I do.
I didn't reread the story closely enough, but it was built a long time ago, and it was about 4 miles west of Neepawa. There's a cairn there on the south side of Highway 16. but it was moved in there when the little schools closed in the 60s,
Yep.
and was put into Lions River Bend Park, and it's been used by school children for years to have a field day and go and see what school was like in the little one-room schoolhouse. And this one is an absolutely fabulous representation of a one-room prairie schoolhouse.
Yep.
And all the equipment's still in there. You can sit in the old desks. You can look at the old register. You can see how the school was operated in the 1890s, 1900s, 20s, 30s, 40s, right through until 1960.
It's very important to remember where you came from, and this is a very good example of that. And for years, the Lions Club right here in Neepawa was able to look after it. But unfortunately, as generations pass and as the years pass, some clubs come, some clubs go, and the time for the Lions Club in Neepawa has essentially passed. They are no longer able to operate to their same capacity, and they wanted to make sure that the legacy of Stony Creek was going to live on in some way, shape, or form. So they have essentially given the building proper to the town of Neepawa, and they will be looking after it moving ahead starting in July. So very happy to see that there will be a future for this part of tradition and history for the Beautiful Plains region. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, I hope our story is correct, but it said the school was actually built in 1881. I don't know this exact building. I'd have to check that.
Yeah.
But the school was established as a school in 1881.
Right.
So,
All right, now let's shift over to another interesting item that came out of town council. This is more in the now, in the here and now, and it's something that on a personal level I take for granted, and maybe I get a little ticked off about from time to time, because I'm at that age right now where two things are very important to me: my barbecue and my lawn. And I wish everybody had that mindset, but they don't. Sometimes you're going to let your lawn go a little bit. And that's fine. You get busy with life. You can't sort of keep it up to par every time. But there's some out there that are just completely ignoring their lawns, and they get ugly and they get overrun. And that's something that doesn't make us as a community look all that good. So the town of Neepawa is going to be sending out letters to people who are not looking after their lawns, just giving them a heads up of, hey, you need to sort of pitch in here. We're all part of this. And I think that's a good idea, because there's nothing that annoys me more, Ken, than when you're driving down and you see a boulevard or you see a lawn that is just completely unkept. And unfortunately, I think no matter where you are, we always have that one neighbor in the community that's like that. And if you don't know who that is, that means it's probably you. Yep.
you remind me of that grumpy old guy in the movie. Get off my damn lawn. But you want your lawn to be nice, so you want people to get off your lawn. Okay.
Most definitely, yes.
Okay.
Yes. But again,
I
what
agree.
is your take on that, on them sort of doing a crackdown on lawn care?
Well, it's probably something they can hardly enforce, but I think just the suggestion and the fact that it's getting some publicity reminds people to, take a look at what's going on here. And I know in our case, we walk to the office here sometime. One of these days, I'm going to grab a grabber, and I'm going to pick the crap out of some of the hedges that I pass along the way.
Yep.
But people who live inside the yard probably don't look at their own hedge. I should walk around my yard. There's probably stuff, the odd paper plate or something stuck in my lilac hedge that's blown in from somewhere. But we all do our part, and actually Neepawa still does look pretty good, but it has grown so fast over the last few years that it would probably have difficulty winning the most beautiful town in Manitoba award anymore, because it has grown so fast, and there's so many more people here, and it just, life changes. So
Yeah, but these are the little things that I think we as a collective should be looking after. If you have control of anything like this, you should step up for it. And if you can't, acknowledge it. Ask for some help. There's nothing wrong with that. Last year, just before the fall hit, my lawnmower conked out on me. And it was like, couldn't get it repaired, couldn't get it looked after here in a timely manner. But neighbors, talking to neighbors, is like, we can help you. What do you need? You need hedge trimmers, you need the lawnmower, what do you need? It's like, no, thank you very much. Very appreciative of that. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. We're all in this together. And as Ken said, I mean, we might not be the most beautiful community in Manitoba anymore, but we can strive to be. And that's all anyone can ever ask. Let's head down the road a little bit. This is one I was able to do a little bit of a road trip down to Plumas earlier this week and share in the celebrations of a new playground for Plumas Elementary School. This is a project that has been about 5-6 years in the making. It's something that they as a collective thought that the youngsters in that town needed, and I'm very happy to have been able to go down there and be a part of the ribbon cutting and the barbecue celebration that took place on, if I remember right, I think it was Monday.
I believe it was June 9th.
Yeah, the days just sort of fly by for me. It all mixes together here essentially, but it was wonderful to be able to do a little bit of a road trip down and get this information. Plumas did so much work. The parents, the teachers, principal, the volunteers, everybody came together. They were able to get some grant money from the province, a huge amount of grant money from the former government. They stepped up. MLA Jody Byram was there representing the government, the province, and celebrating with them on this. They were also able to get a lot of local funds from, I want to very specifically sort of shout out this one group here, the Community Foundation that stepped up, because they very specifically emphasized that they wanted it as well. High Life Foods was a big part of it as well. And there was also the Big Grass Community Foundation, apparently was a big part of bringing in support and giving them money they needed.
Also 2 pigs or top pigs.
Yep.
From Plumas, yeah.
Because if you find it, you'll find it on page A10 of this week's edition. We are a 2-section paper, and you'll see a picture of the playground. Take a wild guess on how much this playground cost. In fact, you know already, Ken, but if you were, you know the number already, but if you were to look at this and back when you were part of this for municipal sort of politics, what would you think something like that would cost to build?
30,000, 40,000 maybe.
$100,000. You are looking at a $100K playground. Oh my God, back in my day, that would be made out of gold. But you know, inflation is a thing and we all got to deal with it. But it's wonderful they were able to bring that money together and sort of do this in the way that they were able to. So I commend Plumas on this. Congratulations on coming together and making this happen. We only got a minute or two left here. There is so much more we could have talked about with you, but there's only so many seconds in a half hour. So that's why you got to pick up a copy of the paper. We could talk about the Pride Paints event at Arts Forward. We could talk about the incident with St. Rose de Lac RCMP, Ken's column as well. We've got Motorcycle Mania. We've got a very interesting horse journey that came through Neepawa that I couldn't even tell you about. So that's why you got to pick up a copy of the paper and see it for yourself. That pretty much wraps it up for this week. Ken, thank you as always for walking us through the week that was.
40 pages.
40 pages full of information. And thank you. We're not here unless you're here in terms of picking up the paper or watching us each and every week right here on NAC TV in the Story Behind the Stories. We appreciate you, and we hope that you'll have another fantastic week. We'll see you next time.